With the publication of the latest Doctor Who magazine, we got 3 previews of upcoming episodes of Doctor Who. But what do they reveal? That's what I'm going to talk about in this video, including maybe a bit of a hint at what's going on with Ruby's boyfriend Conrad, the Doctor visiting an old friend, and something's going on with Mrs. Flood at the Interstellar Song Contest. Let's look at them. Hi, welcome to Culture Filter, I'm Phil, and this is the channel where I talk about all the geeky pop culture I like, which is a lot of Doctor Who, and other stuff occasionally, but mostly Doctor Who, so if you like that, do hit subscribe down below for reviews, lore videos, and news videos like this one. Now, as I said, with the publication of Doctor Who magazine issue 616, we got previews for the 3 episodes following the ones we've already had previews for. So we got Lucky Day, The Story in the Engine, and the Interstellar Song Contest, with the final 2 episodes we'll presumably get a preview for in next month's issue. So let's look at what they tell us. Let's start with Lucky Day. The sort of in a nutshell guide to this episode in this article says, Ruby Sunday is back. She's got a loving family and a handsome new man in her life, but she misses her best friend, the Doctor. Then a savage alien creature from Ruby's past brings terror to a remote English village, forcing UNIT into a deadly battle that will push Kate Lethbridge-Stewart to her limits. Intriguing. Now there's various things. I'm not going to go through the absolutely line by line the whole article. Obviously buy the magazine if you want to read that, but I'm going to pick out a few little bits from this. One quote in the magazine, I believe it's from the director Pete Migtai, sorry, I mispronounced the name there, is, we rarely see the emotional fallout of the time spent with the Doctor. This is in reference to companions. So this episode seems to be exploring who Ruby is without the Doctor, what's her life like, how she feels after the Doctor has gone. The only time we've really explored this in Doctor Who's past has been with Sarah Jane slightly in School Reunion. But this hasn't been done without the Doctor there before, which is what this is. This is a Doctor light episode, so that will be interesting. Another thing that it says is that thing about it bringing terror to a remote English village that we got there. Obviously, one of the things about the Doctor Light episode that focused on Ruby last season, 73 Yards, a lot of people really liked that Welsh rural pub scene, the gothic horrorness of that, and then it very quickly moved away from that to the city. I wonder here if we're going to kind of get the flip of that, so that we get, maybe it's starting in the city, maybe a bit of interaction with UNIT at the beginning there, and then we move to a remote village, and we get more of that kind of vibe that we got at the beginning of 73 Yards, the spooky gothic horror vibe. One other thing it mentions is that this is a terror from Ruby's past. But where from her past? Is this something that she maybe met with during her travels with the Doctor in an unseen adventure? Or is this from her, distant past? Is this from her childhood in some kind? And if so, is it linked to her story arc from last season, or is it just pure coincidence? Those are the questions I have for this. Let me know if you've got any theories on this in the comments below, by the way. But I think the most interesting part of this, and that has got my brain going on theories, is that it says that Conrad is trying to prove he's as brave as the Doctor. Clearly, Ruby has been telling him about the Doctor. Perhaps, I'll get to this in a minute, that maybe he knows about the Doctor already even before he's met Ruby. Maybe he sought Ruby out because of her connection with the Doctor. But he clearly feels he's got something to live up to there. And is that going to be his downfall? Is that there's been hints that he may end up being somewhat of an antagonist towards the end of the season in the season finale. There were those images of posters of his face looking like he was running for some kind of office. Maybe there was hints that he was some kind of authoritarian politician figure in that season finale, that he doesn't appear to be here. He just has a podcast here. So if that's where it's going, what turns him from this to that? And I wonder if it's him trying to live up to the Doctor and somehow that linking into Wish World and wish fulfillment. Perhaps he feels inadequate compared to these stories of the Doctor, and that leads him down this dark path of eventually using mystical means, Wish World stuff, altering reality so that reality is one where he feels he's on top and is better than the Doctor. if they do this in a way, it's kind of coming back round to the beginning of the season with the kind of Alan stuff in a way, because it kind of touches on that sort of incel insecurity from the mindset of having to be on top and the alpha male and things like that. A ridiculous mindset, but one that they kind of played with a little bit in the opening episode. Maybe they're going to return to it at the end with Conrad from a different angle. Now, interestingly, this article also notes that the episode gives us the darkest moment in terms of who the Doctor is and what he represents. So what does that mean? Is that his effect on people, something he does specifically? We know the Doctor and Belinda are likely seen maybe at the bookends of this episode, maybe a bit more, who knows, but they're likely to be in 2007 because the clip of her meeting the little boy in 2007, him telling her it's 2007, comes from this episode. So they're potentially stuck in 2007. They're there to maybe do another triangulation with the Vindicator. And yeah, what's going to happen there? Is that young boy Conrad? Is their interaction going to be the start of his journey to wanting to live up to the Doctor? Maybe he then starts investigating him sort of in a Clive type way from, 2005 in the episode Rose. Clive had this whole shed where he'd been researching the Doctor and had photos of him and stuff. Maybe Conrad has done something similar, and he therefore seeks Ruby out because of this interaction he had with Doctor and Belinda in 2007. So I think there's a lot to be going on there and to be theorising about. Let me know if you've got any theories in the comments down below. Then we've got the story and the engine, and the in a nutshell bit on this one says, Lagos in 2019 is an ideal spot to get a bearing on the Vindicator, a vital step to returning Belinda home. While he's there, the Doctor decides to drop in on his old friend Omo, who runs a barber shop in the city, blissfully unaware that he's falling into a trap. Our hero soon finds himself embroiled in a plot for revenge that spans the centuries. There's not as much to pick up on, I think, in this article, because it's mostly, the article that accompanies this is mostly about the writer's journey to creating this episode. But obviously in that bit there, we hear that the Doctor is visiting an old friend. The barber shop that he goes to is run by an old friend. I'm curious whether he met this friend in this incarnation. It could have been, there's some time in his timeline before Church on Ruby Road and between season 1 and 2 that he, has gone off. That's where some of his comic adventures take place, etc. So could he have met him then? Or if he did meet him in a past incarnation, are we going to get that moment where he sees his friend for the first time and says who he is, and for the first time he's actually, the Doctor is black, and what's going to be the barber's reaction to that? We know that the barber knows who the Doctor is in terms of like his time traveling adventure, because one of the quotes they put in this is him asking the Doctor for a story, and the Doctor saying, you want a story about weeping angels and ice warriors, but nothing is more valid than an ordinary life. So this guy clearly knows about the Doctor's adventures. The other interesting thing there is the thing about a plot for revenge that spans centuries. Are we going to get a secret returning villain in this episode? Maybe there's a link to the past there. Could this be a surprise appearance of the Master, or is it somebody a bit more obscure? Could this be another O situation where Omo is actually the Master and has been deep undercover for years, like pretending to be someone he's not, like O was? Or is it somebody we haven't met before that we're going to get introduced to and find out has a history with the Doctor that we haven't seen before? There's also the indication there that the barber possibly has betrayed him, which does make me think maybe the barber is the one that is out for revenge, or maybe he's an unwitting participant that has been forced into this. Who knows? Let me know your thoughts again in the comments below. And then finally we have the Interstellar Song Contest, and the blurb for this reads, it's 2925 and the biggest night of the year. 3 trillion lifeforms from 40 million planets are watching the Interstellar Song Contest, broadcast live from the Harmony Arena space station. The Doctor and Belinda are looking forward to an evening of fun, but someone is planning to hijack the event, putting everyone's lives in danger. Meanwhile, out in the audience, events take an unexpected turn for Mrs. Flood. I am most intrigued by the Mrs. Flood thing there. It sounds like something that she wasn't necessarily expecting is going to happen. So Is her well laid out plan, she referenced last season that she had such big plans for the Doctor before she got dusted by Sutekh. So is this going to be another hindrance in those plans of some kind? Are her plans falling apart slightly? Are they good plans or bad plans? And will the Doctor notice her there? I think, given that this is the next episode after this is the season finale, 2-part season finale, I think this is probably the point where he's going to really notice Mrs. Flood. In the article, Juno Dawson mentions that this was originally the original brief for this was that it was Die Hard meets Eurovision. So I do wonder if we're going to get maybe the Doctor crawling in some air ducts at some point. The big explosion at the end, where we've seen in trailers where he gets flung out into space and all the audience are getting flung out into space because the glass dome breaks. That has kind of the feel of Die Hard, and I guess the guy that we've seen with the horns, he's some kind of terrorist that has decided to attack this event. The only other thing I want to draw attention to from this one is that it says we have 4 pop songs composed by Murray Gold, so this possibly might have more music in than the so-called musical episode last season. Who knows? But they're all going to be performed as on stage. I want to know, will we get actual decent amount of songs, or are we just going to get 20-second snippets of each song? I kind of hope we get at least one full song. I like a good song in Doctor Who. I know not everyone does, but I do. So there you go. That's the kind of things I picked out from what we learned in the latest Doctor Who magazine about these episodes. Which one are you most looking forward to? Do you have any theories on any of them, on any of the stuff it brought up? Let me know all that in the comments down below, and as usual, I'll be here for more coverage soon. In the meantime, why not click on the screen now and check out this video about times the Doctor has become a bit self-aware of himself as a TV show.